is from the experience that I've had working with quite a lot of leaders of different organisations. Two things have kind of struck me around what I believe is the kind of next paradigm shift in leadership. The first one is actually around vision, because I can remember in my days in corporate life, a lot of the focus on growing and developing businesses was based around, look, how do we kind of make our business more efficient? How can we improve the systems and the processes? And quite a number of chief executives that I worked with at that time kind of thought, well, that's all we really needed to do to build a really, really successful business. And I think what is so significant now is a realization amongst companies, both big and small, that it's not enough anymore. In fact, to do those things, you know, quite frankly, is pretty much the entry qualification to the game. That makes an okay business, at best a good business. But what is it that ultimately is going to make a business really, really outstanding? And as I said, it doesn't matter whether it's a business of 5 people or a business of several hundreds of thousands of people. And in my view, the thing that really makes the difference is the ability to be able to get your people to move from here to here. And in the case of the biggest organisation which I work for, that's 300,000 people. And ultimately, that isn't going to happen just by being more efficient and more effective. It's about hearts and minds. It's the ability to be able to inspire people behind a direction and then want to be part of it, to want to follow and want to share in the vision of that individual or that organisation. And for me, that is the biggest single paradigm shift. And actually, it's the thing that seems to be, certainly from my experience of working with leaders in different businesses, the biggest area of challenge for any leader. Because, you know, let's be honest, that emotional intelligence, that ability to be able to take people on a journey and inspire and motivate, have not historically been the things that have been celebrated in the boardroom. The second thing, and it's a particularly interesting area for me personally, which again, I'll share with you the reasons why. This whole thing about authenticity, again, when I talk to leaders in different organisations, people understandably, when you're part of an organisation, hugely important that you complement the culture and the values of that business. It doesn't matter whether it's your business or whether you're working for somebody else's business. But again, where people often, leaders seem to struggle a little bit, is how do you make a corporate culture fit with your own values, your own individuality, and your own ability to be able to express who you are at work. Because I have a personal belief, and the greatest leaders that I've ever come across or worked with are those that actually really understand how they lead based on their own authenticity. Because ultimately, unless you're true to yourself and you follow what you believe in, I don't believe that you can ever be an effective leader. And that's a real challenge again, and I'm noticing a lot with a lot of the people that I work with, is how do you get that balance right between what your organisation stands for and, as I said, your ability to be able to express your individuality. And that can be in a lot of different ways, you know, in the clothes that you wear, in the way that you express emotion and personality at work. And as I said, how do you align that with your corporate culture and ultimately your corporate brand? So those are kind of two themes which I'd really like to explore with you this morning. How many times as leaders do we stand up there and actually share what's important to us? Share the numbers that are driving the business and all of those other things that we get preoccupied at every day as leaders of lots of different types within organisations. How many times do we actually think about what's important to the audience? How might the audience be feeling? Maybe somebody's got up that morning and, you know, somebody in their family was ill, or they'd had a particular challenge, or they've been really torn about the thought that they had to leave their 2-year-old before coming to work. We don't really spend any time thinking about that. But if you can tap into that basic human emotion and understand what is important to audiences, it starts to get you communicating in a very, very different way. And again, you know, particularly in today's environment where we have to communicate via the web, on the telephone, via email and face-to-face, ask yourself how consistent you are. Does the tone of your emails actually reflect the way that you are when you talk to people? Because I think, you know, email, for example, is in many, many ways the kind of scourge of business, because, you know, the meaning that we often have in emails is not how it's translated to the way that that person feels when they get there. And I'm going to give you a very good example very shortly of just how that's played out inside my own company. You know, I'm embarrassed to say this is actually from my own organisation, and actually I like showing it because it reminds me just how careful you need to be. This was from a colleague of mine to one of my co-directors in the company. He said, "Morning, I have a very first meeting with client tomorrow. We'll update you on back of that. There's no production schedule right now, but we'll be able to build one hopefully after tomorrow's meeting. Suggest I update you tomorrow afternoon. Are you around?" Well, the message that came back, "Steve, you must clarify overnight." Now, I spoke to Steve at the time that interview was, that email was sent, and actually he was mortified that he got that 1.5 line email back. He was trying to do the right thing, and that simple email that he got back made him feel really undervalued. Now, the guy that sent that to him absolutely didn't intend to. As far as he was, that was a functional email, something we all do every day. And yet the receive, the way that person felt, is fundamentally different. And it is one of the challenges that I talked about, because the guy that sent it isn't like that at all in real life. He's actually a really nice guy. But actually, the communication made the other person feel pretty rubbish. Can I just explain that 2 minutes that you spend by the drinks machine talking to the person from accounts is enough to keep them motivated for the next month. Why? Because actually you've just shown an interest. You've asked them about them and about something that's important to them. And I said, it really doesn't matter whether it's their family or whether what they've been doing in their job. But that ability to be able to connect and be inspiring and motivating is something that, you know, I think it's not easy all the time, particularly in leadership positions, but hugely, hugely powerful if you can get that connection.